Toddless. Toddulus? Tadulus? Taduli? Happy birthday! How the places for nuclear weapons tests are chosen, and what above ground spots you would choose if you had to. USA and the rest of the world. Oh man, this is going to involve looking at maps here. So let's get the Google Earth running. Bam. Okay, so in the U.S., we do all of our nuclear tests in the Tonopah range. We did all of our nuclear tests in the Tonopah range, which is Tonopah over there. Come over. Tonopah's about here. Mina, Luning, Grant Hawthorne. Tonopah is somewhere yonder. Coldfield. Tonopah up here. So there's Tonopah, the city, which is a mining town. It's a very weird mining town because it's like the mines run underneath the town, and so there's certain places you can't actually build land because you might fall into a mine. There's some open pits and things. But the Tonopah test sites, that's one of the solar arrays. That's really cool. Crescent Dunes Solar Energy Project. That's really cool looking. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. The Tonopah bombing range, you can usually find it, and then you see all these like nuclear bomb marks. And there's also some really cool volcanic structures. These little cinder cones here, these are really cool. You drive right past them on your way to Bodie. Not Bodie, what's the name of that town? Yeah, Beatty. Sorry, Beatty. Okay, Goldfield, Tonopah. Oh, where are you? I can normally see you from space, and I cannot. Tonopah. Bombing range. No, that's Creech Air Force Base. Those are the guys that ran it. That is not the folks. Air 51. Okay, that's the other Air Force Base. Come on, you little jerk. There's like 9 million of these little stupid things when I'm not seeing you. How about nuclear test site? Round Mountain. Nevada National Security Site. That is not the bombing range. Oh, there, no, here it is. Yeah, that's the bombing range. Okay, so here we go. So see all these craters? Every single solitary one of these things was a nuclear test. Every last one of them. Boom, 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 boom. So many. So many nuclear sites. You can actually take tours of this. I have not done it yet because when I've gone through Nevada, I've had the monkey butt with me, and you can't take a dog on the nuclear tests tour. So, and it's like 110 degrees outside, so I have nowhere to put her. If they had a doggy daycare, I would love to be able to go tour the nuclear test sites. So they did a whole bunch of above ground tests. And these above ground tests, people could like sit on their patios in Vegas and watch the tests happen. That's what's crazy. This whole area, the reason why they chose it was because groundwater doesn't really go anywhere. But you can see that there's washes. There's a bunch of old mines and all sorts of old mines out here. Some of the largest tests we've done in a long time. Like that's a really big one right there. And most of these are low yield. A lot of them are underground. So the underground ones make sort of like these sunken craters, like these things. This is an underground test. You can see like where the land failed and it kind of dropped in. And then you get the really big craters. These are above ground ones where it blew out a hole. We do a lot of our nuclear stuff in Nevada because Nevada is a weird state. Due to it being a basin and range state, and you can see from the mountains that the mountains are shaped differently than mountains elsewhere. And you go to the Sierra Nevadas, and you've got lots of these little valleys and all sorts of stuff going on here. You go up to the Rockies, and the Rockies themselves, they are these long, kind of spidery looking ranges. But in Nevada, you got the basin and range. And we talked about that a couple of shows ago about how the land in Nevada sort of splits apart. And as a result, these blocks sort of fall at an angle. And you get this mountain valley, mountain valley, mountain valley, mountain valley, almost northwest. North south in shape. And as a result, there really isn't a drop of water that lands in Nevada that leaves Nevada. So most elsewhere in the country, water lands somewhere and it ends up going out to the Atlantic Ocean or going out to the Pacific Ocean, depending on which side of the continental divide you're on. But in Nevada, water in Nevada that falls in Nevada falls into places and ends up in these big salt flats like the Carson Sink, or all these little salt flats in the middle of all these basins and ranges where the water just kind of evaporates into nothing. And so we do a lot of our nuclear tests we did a lot of our nuclear tests in Nevada, while also trying to store our nuclear waste there in Yucca Mountain, which is just south of here. Yucca says Beatty. I think Yucca is, I don't know, like right in here. Maybe a little bit further north. We just typed in Yucca Mountain. Ding, ding. Ah, right there. There we go. Okay, so Yucca Mountain. There's a lot of folks who are upset that we're storing all this stuff in Yucca Mountain. Like, oh, there's people who live like 90 miles away. But the groundwater here moves at about an inch a year, maybe 2 inches a year. So if there's any contamination from the nuclear waste that's stored there and it happens to make it into the groundwater, it's going to be like millions of years before it reaches any population center. That's the whole reason why they did it here. And then like, oh, there's fault zones there. Well, there's fault zones everywhere. So we had to figure out what we're going to do with the nuclear waste. We thought our solution was dump it in Yucca Mountain. But people in Nevada are like, we're sick of our state being like a nuclear waste dumping ground. But the reason why it keeps being made a nuclear waste dumping ground is because of its shape, because water doesn't leave the state. So water doesn't leave the state. So that's why we chose here. Russia did their nuclear tests up on this sucker. My turn. Up here. This is where they did the Tsar bomb was up on this thing. So they chose these islands out in the remote areas. I think it's that island anyway. Tsar bomb. Tsar bomb test site. I think it was here anyway. There should be a giant crater somewhere on this island. Wikipedia? There's usually Wikipedia that pops up. Anyway, they did their 57 megaton bomb here. And they apparently have the capability of doing 100 or 200 megatons, which is quite terrifying. But they chose up here because there's no one around. If you're going to do your nuclear test, you want to do it where nobody is. Our original nuclear tests were out at Bikini Atoll. Well, our original post-war tests. Or Trinity was the first nuclear test in New Mexico. So Bikini Atoll, this little ring island, is an ancient volcano that sunk into the ocean, and there's limestone reefs that built up. And we blew out huge chunks of it. So this is one of them, Castle Bravo. That's a giant chunk we blew out. And what we did was we blew all this shit up. Then went, oh, maybe we should move all these people. So we moved thousands of the indigenous people here off their islands and away, and they don't get to live here anymore. We had to build some very strange containments because some of the bombs we did. Let's see here. Let's find if we can find some of the containment units here. That's the old abandoned airport, Air Force Base. Where are you? Where they did the cap? Was it on Bikini Atoll or was it? Shoot. Okay. Maybe it was Bikini Atoll. Maybe it was in the other ones in the Marshall Islands. It was. Okay. 1 sec. Gotta do my Pacific nuclear test site. Pacific Proving Grounds. There we go. Strategic site. Operate from site panned. Okay. Radiation exposure. Let's the radiation exposure. Operation Crossroads. I think that's the one I was talking. Oh, that was the one in Bikini Atoll. Okay. Operation Sandstone. Inatwok. Yes. Okay. Inatwok. That's the other one. That's where I want to go. Inatwok. I cannot spell. Crap, how do I spell that? Inatwok. Watek. Watek. That's what I'm doing. Watek. Watek. Atoll. There we are. Search it. Right next door. Yeah, so we had to move all the people off this island. And we blew up all sorts of shit up here. There's the old airport. Okay, let's see if we can find some of the holes we made. Reef. There we go. There's a couple. Boom, boom. There's a couple of holes. Nuclear sarcophagus. This is a giant concrete dome we put over this one because this one was especially radioactive. So we covered it with a whole bunch of concrete. Yay us. I think there's another one right there. Here's a big one. Yeah, Ivy Mike. That's a huge hydrogen bomb right there. I think this is the one that this was a large island at one time, and we just eliminated it entirely. The island no longer exists. That was the first hydrogen bomb test, I think. If I'm remembering correctly. We just disappeared the island entirely. But yeah, we really like to blow shit up out in the middle of nowhere. We did atmospheric tests where we'd put a bomb basically up in space and blow it up. And I'll be honest, the video footage from those are beautiful. They're like a Winamp screensaver. I highly recommend, and I think it's free on YouTube now, the Atomic Bomb movie. It is absolutely one of the most mesmerizing films you'll ever see, and the score is fantastic. The Moscow Symphony Orchestra plays the score, and this is basically just real-time or classic footage of actual real nuclear tests. And it explains like how the bombs got developed, and then you watch them blow up and you're like, holy shit. that is one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life. But it's gorgeous. So anyway, Tadulus, if you are going to do nuclear tests, you want to do them as far away from possible. I would not pick Pacific Islands because that is water. And you don't want to put all stuff in water. You don't want the shock waves killing all your fish. If you're going to do it, you do it underground in the middle of nowhere, so that you don't contaminate things and you don't have fallout and you don't, mess everything up. So that's what I would say. Don't do it on little Pacific Islands. Don't move people to make it happen. Let them live in their homes. Don't destroy their homes with nuclear bombs. The French did a whole bunch like that. The British did a whole bunch like that. The Americans did a whole bunch like that. Just, you got your own stupid desert. If you're going to blow shit up, blow up your own desert. Don't destroy the homes of, these ancient civilizations here. Anyway, Chris Taylor, thank you so much. Andrew Stewart, thank you. Black Bezos, thank you. Don Caesar Shadem, thank you. Oat Milkman, the most threatening name on the internet, thank you so much. We are at 90%? No, sorry, 9%. Awesome. 91% to go. Let's get this. Let's get there. Okay. Julianne, I read Song of the Dodo, The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and love them both, as well as Touching the Jaguar by John Perkins. I've not read Touching the Jaguar yet. Any other good nonfiction book suggestions? Oh, boy. Oh, sorry, Mikey. Didn't mean to, oops, hitting the keyboard with the chair. Which ones would I recommend? Just on these shelves. Okay. All right. Goofy ones. You want to go goofy? All right. Sports, goofy. Oh, there's my Tesla book. It's over here. Okay. American Lightning. Which ones are I recommend? That's mostly sports there. Okay. All right. Quick, dirty. This will give you like 10 years worth of reading. a good starter? Yeah. We'll start with these 4. Okay, since we're talking about atomic bombs, the making of the atomic bomb. This is the heaviest book I've ever read in my entire life. It took me 5 years to read this book. And I'm talking, like, I read probably 100 other books in the time it took me to read this book. I could read 2 pages, and then I'd just sit and think for a week. I don't know how someone wrote this book, honestly. It took the men and women of the Manhattan Project 5 years to create the bomb. It took the author 5 years to write the book. It took me 5 years to read it. So among all those people, I'm the dumbest one in that line. It not only does it outline sort of the biography of every scientist who contributed to quantum mechanics, nuclear physics, etc., and each individual scientist who was a part of that. But it gives you, like, it teaches you the physics of, like, how they made the discoveries they made. And not only that, but there is one of the hardest things I ever read in my entire life. Absolutely just scarred my heart. Is they describe the conventional warfare of the firebombing that World War II participants would do. And particularly the firebombing of Tokyo. And talked about how we just laid waste. We burned Tokyo to the ground. We killed hundreds of thousands of people by basically just melting them with incendiaries. And how awful it was. And then they describe what happened to folks in Hiroshima and Nagasaki when we dropped, like, the bomb on them, and just how horrific it was. And it's one of those things that I think is important that every human being, like, takes in and understands, like, the impacts of what nuclear warfare means. It definitely, like, I don't know, you'll ponder on this for a long time. This is one of those books, if you're going to read it, read a couple pages at a time, stare off into space, read another book, come back to it. It took me from 2008, like, New Year's 2009 to New Year's 2014 is when I finally finished it. It took a long time. Okay. The Arms and the Dudes. This one's funny. They made that movie War Dogs or whatever out of it. It originally was like a Vanity Fair article, and it sort of talked about these 2 kids that figured out that they could just bid on federal contracts. They're like, hey, you just open up a business license, you get an EIN, and you start bidding on contracts. And they had a simple math problem to it. They would go, okay, this contract, they're asking for, 100,000 gallons of propane for this military base. And they would Google how much is propane per gallon. And it would say, like, $2.85. They go, okay, $2.85 times 9%, and that's what we're going to make our bid. And so they would bid. The government would give them the contract, and they would just call up the propane company and be like, hey, can you deliver this 100,000 gallons to this military base? Here's a check. And what they would do is they go to the bank and they would get a 30-day loan. Once it got delivered, then the government would pay them, and then they made their 9% profit. And they started doing this for all sorts of different contracts, for military helmets and, like, bullets. We need, 20 million NATO rounds for our machine guns. And they would call up, like, Smith & Wesson and be like, hey, how much is 20 million rounds of bullets? And like, oh, it costs this much. So they would just go to the government and they'd say, hey, we'll do it for this much plus 9%. And the government would give them the contract. And they would just call Smith & Wesson and say, deliver all those bullets to that military base over there. And Smith & Wesson would just deliver the bullets. It's pretty hilarious. Anyway, their undoing was twofold. One, they didn't bribe senators. So they didn't do any donations to, like, any senators or congressmen. So they had no, like, government backing for when they did goof up. There was no one to be like, oh, no. Because if Raytheon goofs up, if Boeing goofs up, if Lockheed Martin goofs up, Northrop Grumman, they've got senators on their payroll who will make sure that, slap on the wrist at most. And 2, they underbid on a huge contract to outfit the Afghan military and police, and it pissed off the Raytheons and the Boeings and everyone else because they underbid by, like, 10x. So, funny book, great read. If you want to do goofiness, Bruce Campbell's Confessions. If Chins Could Kill, Confessions of a B-movie Actor. This book was hilarious, and it gives you an insight into like being an also ran in Hollywood. And he's a funny dude. And he, Sam Raimi, Coen Brothers, they all kind of grew up together, making movies together, and just a beautiful, funny read. And I think I got mine signed. There we go. Hey Houston, shop smart. And then sports wise, I really enjoy. Jamie Moore is my favorite pitcher ever, but his biography is probably the best dive into sports psychology I've ever read. And I've got like actual sports psychology books, but this puts it into perspective from the perspective of like a player who was a head case early on, who overcame it, and in his 30s became one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball. Just fantastic read. I mean, the dude pitched until his 50s, and should be a Hall of Famer. I think Jamie Moore should be a Hall of Famer. So this one, just tell me I can't. It's like, I think it might be self-published or something, or a small publisher. But anyway, fascinating book. So there's 4 of them for you to read right there. Okay, SJ. Woo! Thank you, SJ and Justin G. We are 30% of the way to our goal for the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. It's helped celebrating Black History Month and giving the finger to Scott Adams. So, nothing like a revenge best served donated. So there we go. Thank you so much. All right.